National Teddy Bear Day is this weekend, and historian Raffi Andonian will walk us through the surprising history of the teddy bear, from Teddy Roosevelt to Valentine's Day surprises. It's fluffier than you might think.
Surely. Well, now we have a nostalgic favorite with a fun twist.
Yeah, historian Raffi Andonian joins us today to talk about the history of the teddy bear ahead of Teddy Bear Day. Check it out.
Today is National American Teddy Bear Day, celebrating the birth of the still beloved teddy bear. So cuddle up with your favorite stuffed teddy bear to hear its story from celebrity historian Raffi Andonian, who is stuffed with historical information. Raffi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And before I was a celebrity historian, here I am.
Yeah, look at
with my little teddy bear. And that's my little brother, by the way. And here's the actual teddy bear from the photo there. You even can see the little mark in the front over there.
Yeah.
And that teddy bear there, my great aunt made on the right side. So when you look at it, you kind of have my childhood teddy bear, and my great aunt made it from my birth, me as a little kid, hanging out with the teddies.
You know, interesting you say the teddies, right? The name Teddy. What really happened with Teddy Roosevelt?
He went on a hunting trip, not terribly far from here. He went down to Mississippi, and there was a border dispute between Mississippi and Louisiana because the river moves around. And he was president at the time, and he's hanging out with the governor of Mississippi. And in that hunting trip, he's known as a big game hunter who's hunted out west. He ends up not catching a bear for 3 days. Wow. So some of the aides of the governor actually tie a bear to the tree and say, here you go, for Teddy to shoot it. Teddy decides not to shoot it. He says, it's unsportsmanlike, it's cheating, I'm not going to do it. And so what happens is the newspapers, of course, cover that.
They tie the bear to the tree.
That's right. They literally tie the bear to the tree. That's right. And tell him to take an easy shot. So he actually, because they don't want the president to come in and go home without a prize, right?
Sure.
But he didn't take it because he didn't want it to be unsportsmanlike. And so the newspapers covered his story, not always positively, by the way. It was kind of seen as, well, here's this big game hunter and he doesn't do that, or he's also kind of seen as indecisive in some ways.
Okay.
In fact, the original teddy bear cartoon that depicted him in the bear as a teddy bear that we come to know was actually kind of a metaphor for the indecisiveness that he had about the border situation. So it wasn't always positive, believe it or not. Yeah, it changed later on. And by the way, that cartoonist who did it later went on, not for his work on the teddy bear, but later went on to win the Pulitzer, believe it or not. That's right. And his son also won the Pulitzer. So talk about like political cartoon family. He did thousands of cartoons, but this one is the one that lives the longest.
Lots of history there. I love that.
Yeah.
When did the teddy bear become so popular?
Yeah, well, as I was saying, so originally, it wasn't like this terribly positive thing. However, a local candy maker in Brooklyn is one that looks at the teddy bear and says, you know what, maybe we should take this and make like a pop culture thing out of it, because it does catch on a little bit in pop culture. For example, when the cartoon takes off, you also have calendars that come out with teddy bear, like the depictions of the teddy bear in there. And so what you're seeing there is, of course, the making of the teddy bear. And so those are some of the original teddy bears. And so think about how you associate a teddy bear with candy, or like, often when you buy like a
Valentine's gift, you get a teddy bear and a box of chocolates.
That's originally actually how it started. So the candy shop owner in Brooklyn, remember Teddy Roosevelt's from New York originally, asked Teddy Roosevelt, says, can I use your name on this? And Roosevelt didn't think it was going to be a big deal and says, yeah, sure you can. And also he was like, as a Roosevelt supporter, so it was like, maybe it'll help kind of make it something more positive from the negative depiction. Of course, became a big hit. In fact, the guy went on to start a toy company. That toy company was around into the 1980s. Made many toys that you know one of the most famous ones it later invented?
What?
The Rubik's Cube.
The Rubik's Cube.
Same company that started with the teddy bear, believe it or not.
So you're saying that teddy bears weren't really a thing before Teddy Roosevelt and bear incident?
There is no such thing. There is no such thing. But it shows up over and over in cartoons over time, not just in the famous depiction of the hunt.
Yeah.
But it shows up in other places to represent Teddy Roosevelt himself. Sometimes it was next to Roosevelt in the cartoon, representing kind of his sidekick. Sometimes it was actually on the other side of a political opponent, including when Teddy Roosevelt left office, to represent kind of a counter emotion. So it comes up again and again in both political cartoons, and then, of course, in pop culture as it becomes a toy and it becomes a huge thing. But there is no teddy bear before this hunting trip.
Wow. And would you say that's how Teddy Roosevelt's legacy has been shaped by the teddy bear?
That's right. So remember, these are the days before Earth Day. So it's not necessarily seen as an amazing thing. However, in the years since, I think it helps see him as sort of the conservationist president. The guy, for example, he contributed big time to national parks, added national parks to the system.
Sure,
it was a different system back then, but also it was under his presidency that we had the Antiquities Act, which allowed the executive, which he was the president at the time, to just by executive order create federal lands. That's how we've gotten a lot of national parks.
Yeah.
So he's known as the conservation president. And remember, before he was on this hunting trip, he had gone out to the Dakotas, done many ranching and cattling that he had done. At some point, he had served as a Cattlemen's Association president, and in fact had published a lot on hunting and fishing and cattle grazing.
Man.
And so as a result of that, he was known for that. And one of the things he warned about in his publications, overgrazing in the late 19th century. It turned out to be correct. So he had this conservation ethic that was both sort of him as a cattleman and as president that weaves throughout. So him not shooting the bear, not only I think speaks to his integrity because he thought he was unsportsmanlike,
sure,
but also becomes this conservation symbol as well because he wasn't just going to take the life of wildlife if it was unfair.
I don't know how you stuff all of that history into that head of yours, but thank you for coming on and filling us in with some history of the teddy bear. We appreciate it. Celebrate National Teddy Bear Day. Grab your teddy bear and hold it close. Stay with us. We got more Good Day in WA coming right up.